Oh, wow. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Awesome Rusty Bucket. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and drop a like on this video. I'm trying to hit 100K subscribers on this channel by the end of the playoffs, so your subscription would be very much appreciated. We're about 14K away from that milestone now, so get on that if you haven't already. Especially if you're routinely turning into these videos and you're subscribed to my main channel. It's just more of me. And who wouldn't want more of me outside of, like, all of my exes? The reason I was laughing in the intro is the Jazz lost to the Mavericks. Now, without context, that would be perfectly reasonable, right? Luka Doncic is really good. Well, he's not playing for the Mavericks, of course. So that means that this team lost essentially to Jalen Brunson and Maxi Kleber. There was contributions from Spencer Dinwiddie as well, although overall his field goal percentage was pretty bad. Dorian Finney-Smith hit a really big three. Reggie Bullock had some timely buckets, but for the most part, at least on the offensive end, this game was the doing of a 40-piece from Jalen Brunson and a 25-point game from Maxi Kleber, where he went 8 for 11 from outside. The Jazz lost this game, of course. Donovan Mitchell in the second half, not nearly as good as he was in the first half. He had like 25 in the first half. He finished with 34, and his field goal percentage went from like 60% to 40%. Bogdanovic is probably the only guy in this game that I would say did his job offensively. In fact, he's the only one who really stepped up. Rudy Gobert missed a couple of bunnies at the rim, but also was passed up on opportunities time and time again, as we talked about in my video titled The Downfall of the Utah Jazz. A lot of the teams not look for him. There were like three different instances, one with Brunson and one with Dinwiddie that stand out in my head the most. It's probably even more than that, where he had great positioning. They didn't find him. One of them, he ended up staying in the position to get on Dinwiddie for so long that he ended up pushing him too much, and it was, Dinwiddie pulled the chair, and it resulted in like an offensive foul or something like that. Something happened under the basket, and he had plenty of time to get a pass, but nobody passed it to him. Jordan Clarkson was great off of the bench. That was cool. He also, I guess, stepped up at, you know what I mean. But the team as a whole, I don't know. It's not even like if you look at the box score, you see what clearly went wrong. It's just that, like, why is Dallas matching you? Why is this group, why is this talent, this group of NBA players matching you in talent? Donovan Mitchell played bad the second half. Rudy Gobert did not get enough shots, and the shots that he did, he missed a couple of bunnies, like I mentioned. There was one alley-oop that stands out in particular. Fucking Dom 2K was tracking every pass that was made to Rudy Gobert from Donovan Mitchell, and it was funny. And I think one of them was that lob that was blown. But I don't even know entirely what to diagnose this as, other than they just simply didn't go for it. Like, this was on a normal night, like a not horrible game for the Jazz, but this is the playoffs we're talking about, where you have what is supposed to be a vastly inferior opponent due to Luka Doncic being out. So for you to lose to this vastly inferior opponent in this context, straight up unacceptable. I didn't see a main reason why Dallas would have won this game, because Utah won the rebound battle. There were multiple instances in which a player didn't challenge Rudy Gobert at the rim, or if they did, they got sent back. Reggie Bullock tried to drive by him and got swatted, and there was a play, one of them was Maxi Kleber's three-pointer, where Davis Bertans was running right down the lane. He probably could have finished the shot, but he saw Rudy Gobert in the paint and was like, I'm not even fucking trying. Luckily, the pass out to Kleber, the shot went in, so it ended up being good, but he kind of passed up a layup/dunk because he was scared of Rudy Gobert. To be fair, Davis Bertans is not good at anything inside the perimeter, so I guess that was a big factor as well. But I can't tell you directly what Utah did wrong, but I also know it's unacceptable for them to lose this game. So it's hard to really pinpoint what to criticize. I just know that it's worthy of criticism. And that's not to take away credit from the players who stepped up. Jalen Brunson, like I said, a fucking 41, 8, and 5 game, shot 15 for 25 and 6 for 10 from 3. He was blowing by everybody. He was hitting step back threes, pull up threes out of the pick and roll. There was like 1 or 2 of them where like the defender was like incredibly lost on the screen. So I guess that's one area where I can throw some blame. But other than like getting cooked by Jalen Brunson, there isn't a lot Utah's defense did like objectively wrong. You could say Maxi Kleber, he primarily played center. Dwight Powell only played 15 minutes in this game, so Maxi Kleber was the center for a majority of the game. And one area that I could point to that would be something that in the past I was too ignorant of the game to see the flaw in this criticism. I used to blame Rudy Gobert for something like this, but as I mentioned, Jalen Brunson was blowing by everybody. A lot of the time that meant Rudy Gobert, or for the few brief minutes that Hassan Whiteside was on the floor, because I believe there was a three-pointer that Kleber made, at least 1 or 2 while Whiteside was on the floor. They would have to rotate over because the point of attack defender got lost on the screen, and that meant that the big man, Maxi Kleber, open in the corner. There you go. And originally people would blame like Rudy Gobert for that, but if he's having to pick up your man because you fucked up the defensive assignment, then at that point, whose fault is it? It's better to give up an open three-pointer than it is to give an open layup. So it's the point of attack defender's fault. It's the guard who is defending Jalen Brunson's fault. So I'm not really going to blame Rudy Gobert for this one, but it was kind of the classic what we've seen with Utah in the playoffs before. The Terrence Mann game for the Clippers is the thing that stands out the most. Is he hit like 7 3-pointers out of the corner. It was guy gets past his man, Rudy Gobert has to bring help because no one else is going to, and that's just the only solution. Open three-pointer, and then it looks like Rudy Gobert made a mistake when really he was trying to correct someone else's mistake, and he was doing the best with the hand he'd been dealt. So that happened a good handful of times. That's why Maxi Kleber got so many damn three-pointers off. And this is it's kind of similar to what happened in Game 1. Like, Maxi Kleber got himself a lot of open shots in Game 1 as well. He just was he was either passing them up or he was missing them because he didn't really have a hot hand. He had a hot hand in this one, and it just continued to be hot. So that's really the big difference. Is like, on paper, this game was similar to Game 1, but Dallas actually made their shots and they didn't rely so much upon getting to the free throw line. In fact, they only shot 13 free throws, which is not a lot at all. Whereas I believe, I'm going to check just to get the exact number, but I believe Dallas shot like 30 plus free throws in Game 1. If the NBA app will stop being a piece of shit for me. They shot 34 free throws to 13 in this one. So basically, Jalen Brunson's huge game, Maxi Kleber making all those damn three-pointers, and Spencer Dinwiddie doing some stuff even though it wasn't efficient. That was their saving grace. So, yeah, that's the Jazz, and I'm going to talk about the Raptors-Sixers game real quick. I did not watch the Suns-Pelicans game the other day, so I don't have any commentary on that. That might be the only series that I, like, barely watch, even though apparently it ended up being a good game. I've just been trying to like set up an actual sleep schedule for the playoffs, and still probably not going to end up being good because literally since I've been 16, I've been trying to fix my sleep schedule, and I am 22 years old now. So for 6 years, I have been trying and failing to accomplish that, and at this point, I should probably just give up on it ever being a thing. But personal life aside, let's talk about this Sixers-Raptors game. On the surface, a blowout, but it was a 30-point game at one point, and Toronto actually almost made it interesting in that fourth quarter. I believe they started off on like an 11-2 run in the fourth quarter, but at about the 8-minute mark of the first quarter, there was a turnover, and Tyrese Maxey took a very ballsy three on the fast break, and it went in, and like the momentum kind of shifted from there. Joel Embiid did some stuff. Speaking of which, Joel Embiid had a much better Game 2 than he did Game 1. Game 1, he really struggled with his shot, but also wasn't really trying all that much, so you couldn't really criticize him too much. Obviously, his team won rather convincingly. So they didn't really need him to play all that great. But this game, he did play great. Tyrese Maxey, second playoff game. So his first playoff game, he has 38. This game, he has a near triple-double with 23, 9, and 8 on a 73% shooting. This guy's playoff stats have got to be crazy through those two games. Like his career playoff stats is like 38 and 8 or something like that. Tobias Harris, to my surprise, good game again. Another instance where he didn't take a ton of shots, but he was really efficient with the ones that he took. And James Harden shot really poorly, but did get to the free throw line a little bit. So, not a great showing from James Harden, but everybody else was killing it. So at a certain point, what does it really matter? What really felt like this game is over moment is when Danny Green got a tomahawk dunk on the fast break with like 4 minutes left in the game. And that's when it was like, we can wrap this one up. We can put the scrubs in the game. But as for how Toronto actually managed to put up somewhat of a fight in this game, again, they did go down by 30 at one point, but they made it interesting for like 5 seconds. They got it down to off of a OG Anunoby three-pointer, I think it was. They got it to be a 13-point game. Again, it was a 30-point game at one point. It got down to 13, but, Fred VanVleet was good. Actually, no, he wasn't. Holy shit. The eye test told me that Fred VanVleet was good. Turns out he wasn't. The eye test was correct about OG Anunoby being fucking awesome. He was 10 for 14 in this one. Siakam being not great is not a surprise to me. And Chris Boucher was cool. But there was a play that I could have swore they called a foul on Chris Boucher, and I freaked out about it. And it turns out the camera angle was just showing Embiid bending over like he was about to shoot a free throw, but he was just bending over to catch his breath at half court. And the game had no audio on. That's why I didn't hear I didn't know what the context was. I didn't really need to tell you that. It was stupid and pointless. But of course, no Scotty Barnes in this one. They had Precious Achiuwa in the starting lineup and didn't really do what you'd want to do on the perimeter. He took 8 shots and only one of them was a 3. Really, ideally for Precious, one of those shots was a really nice layup on James Harden. But for the most part, you want him to be spotting up, and there was a lot of stuff where he was trying to self-create. I had a take that I was telling my friends earlier, which is like, once Miles Turner gets traded, I feel like Precious Achiuwa might be the new, like, what's the term I'm looking for? Like the new everybody wants him as their center, because crazy good 3-point shooter the second half of the season. He's a really good defensive player. So the 3-and-D center archetype comes in high demand with a very short supply. So could see him being one of those types of guys who's constantly in trade rumors because everybody wants that type of player. He sucked to open the year. He's been much better to close the year. Contrary to popular belief, I watch the Raptors and I know what's going on with that team. A lot of Raptors fans seem to think that I hate the team, but that's just because they all have a victim complex. Gary Trent Jr. is one of my favorite players in the league who plays for the Toronto Raptors. This game got into some foul trouble, and I actually missed why he didn't play. I don't know if he got hurt or he got thrown out of the game. This is the consequence of playing the game with no audio. Sometimes you just miss shit. And I get that all the time when I'm doing these commentaries, and people tell me to turn on the audio, but I don't really like the commentary most of the time. But playoff atmosphere in a really close game is cool, but as I mentioned, this is not a close game for a majority of it. So, that was my thoughts on those games. The Jazz are hilarious. I forgot to mention this. If Luka Doncic comes back for Game 3, the Mavs are winning this series. If you can't beat the Mavs without Luka, I don't even care if you're on the opposing team's floor, you're going to lose the series. That is just straight up unacceptable, and the Jazz need to do something in this offseason because this team just can't continue to run it back. And I imagine if they lose in the first round, especially in the fashion it appears that they might, I don't think they're going to run it back. But yeah, that is it. Goodbye.